So one of the most common repairs that just about any homeowner is eventually going to have to make is going to come to towel rack holders or even toilet paper holders. So in this video, not only am I going to show you how to repair one of these towel rack holders, but I'm also going to go over some of those more inferior products and products that you really should be using in order to mount these to the wall in order for them to last for a very long time so you don't run into this issue again. So let's go ahead and jump right in.
So as you can see, this is extremely loose and really needs to be replaced. Luckily, it was not pulled out of the wall, so we will have something to work with and won't have to do any drywall work in order to replace this. In order to get started with this, on the bottom side of these towel bars, there will probably be, for most people, a set screw that you'll need an Allen wrench to loosen it so that then you can pull this towel bar off of the mounts that would be underneath on the drywall. Now, in this case, there's no actual set screw for this particular towel bar. It's going to take a flat-bladed screwdriver that will just push it up in there, depress the plastic that's up in the hole, and then the towel bar will pop off. And of course, you'll also need to do the same thing on the other side of the towel rack as well. All right, so now that towel rack is off, all that's left is the mounting hardware that was underneath that's supposed to be holding this to the wall. This is a threaded anchor bolt, so all you're going to need to do if it's threaded is just twist it out of that hole, like so. So now that we're set to remount our mounting bracket, we need to get this threaded anchor off, so we need to go ahead and remove the screw that's inside. In this case, you may want to use some pliers to hold the anchor itself while you unscrew it, as it's probably not going to be very easy to do just by hand. So now our mounting hardware is completely free of anything, and we need to now reattach it to the wall.
So a lot of the times what your DIYers are using or your homeowners are using are these anchors right here. These are just the most common anchors that pretty much everybody knows about, but oftentimes this is what you're gonna find in your wall on your toilet paper holders and your towel rack bars. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care which one of these you get, these are just, they're not gonna last for a very long time. They just cannot hold up to the weight, and the weight being on them constantly, and then also the constant pulling on the towels to pull them off the towel bar. It's gonna loosen up over time, and I just never even use these at all, even when I hang pictures or mirrors. So I avoid these altogether on every single install that I do. I highly encourage you to do the same, because since I've quit using these, I pretty much never have any issues going forward. So again, going back to using these for pictures and mirrors, a lot of times what I'll use instead of these is I'll use these hammer-in anchors, and these are super simple. You don't have to drill a hole like you do with your standard anchor. You just pick where you want it to go in. You put the tip of this on where your mark is, where you want it to insert, and then you just hammer this into the wall. Once this is hammered in and seated flush with the wall, that's when you take the included bolt, insert it in, and when that bolt is inserted in, it's actually on the other side of the drywall gonna flip this point up, and it's going to be pretty much impossible to ever pull it out or move it at all. I've had a lot of success with these. This doesn't really have to do with this video, but it's an added tip for those of you that not only are looking for a better solution, but an easier one as well when mounting your pictures, paintings, or mirrors. But when it comes to the topic of fixing our towel bars, or actually on the initial install, what I personally think is one of the best options to use in doing that are these toggle bolts right here. You'll have to drill a hole into the wall depending on the size of the toggle bolt. Push these wings down, you insert that into the hole in the drywall. Once it's pushed in through that hole in the drywall all the way, those wings are going to flip out like so. And so they're going to be up against the drywall, and then you just tighten down your bolt and you're going to have a really nice tight connection. Now these are 1/4 inch, and these are rated to hold up to 125 pounds. And that might seem like overkill, but I'm telling you, for endurance purposes, and especially if you got kids that are pulling on the towel bar, this is an excellent solution, and it's also incredibly easy to install. So definitely highly recommend these, and I'll touch on these briefly in just a moment. But my absolute favorite anchor to use, and I use these on pretty much all of my installations because they are just so easy and just by far one of the strongest anchors you can possibly purchase on the market. These are snap toggle bolts. And again, the way that these work, you're gonna drill a hole into the wall, and then when you have the hole in the wall, you've got these little handles right here. And as I move those, as you can see, the anchor up here is also moving. So then once that hole is drilled, you just push those up, insert this into the wall. Once it's fully seated inside the wall, you just even them up, pull this plastic piece down, insert your bolt, and mount your hardware. And these particular 1/4-inch snap toggles are capable of holding up to 265 pounds in 1/2-inch drywall. So that's very impressive. And those were some very simplified instructions. There's a little bit more to it, and I'm gonna get more in depth with that in just a moment when I install this on my own wall. So these are my 2 favorite heavy-duty toggle bolts, especially the snap toggle over here, along with these super easy to use hammer-in anchors that, again, I really recommend for any pictures or paintings or lighter mirrors that you're wanting to mount on your wall. I'll have links for all of these, along with all of the tools that are going to be required to do this repair and install these. I'll have links for all of it down in the description down below. When you click on those links, they'll take you directly to them so you can check them out for yourself.
So if you are planning on using one of these more standard toggle bolts, first thing you'd want to do is make sure that the bolt is removed. These are 2 separate pieces. Then you take your mounting bracket, and depending on how yours is, this one, I mean, as you can see, there's 3 holes. I could do it the way that a lot of people are going to have to, where there's a bolt down here and there's a bolt up in this hole, but since mine only has the 1 right now, and I think that's enough, I'll just use the center one. So you would then put your bolts in, if you've got 2 of them or just 1, and screw it in. Then you would take this piece and you would put it on like so, and you screw it in a decent ways. I usually do until I can start seeing the bolt coming up to the top. And then you would need to make sure that there's enough space between your mounting bracket and this piece here to make up for the amount of drywall, and also for these to be able to close to go through the wall. So I just unscrew it almost all the way, and now that you've got plenty of space for those to close up, at this point you would then push this through the wall, and once it gets through to the other side, these flaps would open up, and then you would just turn this bolt to the right with a screwdriver, and it would then tighten this down to the anchor. Now you're going to have to drill pilot holes that are larger than the holes that you currently have. They're going to have to be big enough to be able to accommodate whichever anchor that you have chosen to use. Now with these snap toggles, in order to get it to go through that hole, obviously this isn't going to work. So you would adjust it to where it is pointing in towards the wall, and we're going to insert it in to that hole. Once we've got it inserted into the hole there, we're going to then adjust it to where these 2 are now square and it's not pulling out. Now the next step that you take with these snap toggles, if you see this plastic piece here, what we're going to do is we're going to hold where they adjust, and then take that plastic piece, this one right here, and we're going to slide it down till it gets inside of that hole that we drilled. So now that plastic piece is down to the wall, I just make sure that it can't go any further. Now we need to get rid of this, and it's as easy as just bending it from side to side, and they just snap off. Now we can take our mounting bracket and take the bolt that comes with these toggle bolts and screw it in a little ways. You can then insert it into the anchor and just keep spinning it, and then eventually it's going to find that hole. And then of course once you find it, you can then use a screwdriver or a cordless drill and tighten it down. Now when you're tightening it down, be mindful of where that set screw needs to go, or where that clip is. They need to be pointing down like they originally were. And so now that is completely tightened down. It's very flush with the wall. There's no gaps at all, and you can't get any movement out of it. So now we can reattach the towel rack itself. So you would put your metal piece on, and in this case all I have to do is clip it on and it goes into place. But for most people, you're going to have to just push it down and then put your set screw up through the bottom. And then when you're ready to put the second arm onto the other mounting bracket, make sure that the rod is inserted into it. Insert the rod into the first arm that you put into place, and then you can mount the second arm. Then once that's in place, you're all set. And this is not going anywhere.
Now, if you found value in this video, then you're definitely gonna find value in this video right over here, where I go over some things where a lot of homeowners don't really know about them, but they really should. When you click on it, it will take you directly to that video. So I hope that you found this video to be helpful and interesting, and if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below. And of course, if you have any questions or comments still, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. See ya.